as we move towards what could be the inevitable, am I totally convinced we're in the end days? No, I'm not. But do I think the signs are there? Absolutely, they are there. Wars and rumors of wars, and that's going to be the topic of what we're going to talk about here in this segment on the Common Sense Show. My name is Dave Hodges. I'm the host. We're the show, Freeing America, one enslaved mind at a time, hopefully working on one enslaved soul at a time as we serve God, family, country. And we try to defend God, family, country, and we do so by defending the oppressed. And right now, the rank and file of the American people are the oppressed. And all I got to do is say, look at the numbers. I don't need to go into any detail explanation. We are brought to you by a great, great, great product. It really appears to me we're going into full-blown war mode, and rumors are out there right now. We're going to address a few of them here. But if we do, supply chains will be affected, and you're going to need to have natural means to take care of your needs. There's nothing better than the Nanosoma liquid spray. Boost your immune system to unbelievable levels. I know it saved my life, and I don't know that I would be here by this point in time had I not had the spray. And then there's the joint relief. I just had a good friend of mine write to me and say he and his friend are using the gel on their sore joints, their hip, their shoulder. Amazing results. Me too. So I was back in the gym after I recovered by using the Nanosoma liquid spray from the ill effects of strep lung linings and RSV. The old pains kept coming back. Well, started applying the gel. In 6 weeks, I had really good relief. In 8 weeks, I could do anything I wanted without pain. You got to be careful. You can't be stupid when you get older because you still can tear your ACL, your labrum. That doesn't protect you. But in terms of joint inflammation and having normal use of your joints and regular exercise or even daily activities, there's nothing better than these products. And then there's the skin cream, cuts, burns together. It's the starter pack, 15% off. And in this day and age, you better think about how you're going to take care of yourself if your normal means of being medicated are cut off. Go to iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. We have many, many unconfirmed reports, and some are actually from fairly good sources that we have troops on the ground and we're invading Karg Island. I can tell you unequivocally, going to my very best military source, very best, as good as anybody has, that is patently false. We're not invading Karg Island, but we are doing the next best thing. We have spec ops, ground operations underway to do various activities. One is we're cutting off Karg Island. Now, hold on to your hat. Now you're going to see why I said supply chains are going to be threatened. We are using special operations forces throughout Iran, and we're suffering casualties. And those casualties are being covered up in terms of the nature of the theater of war they're involved in. And I understand it. For national security reasons, you can't advertise we're doing A, B, and C, although the Iranians have to know. But we are engaging right now in cutting off oil from Karg Island. And some of that involves troops on the ground. But it's not a large scale invasion. We're not looking at D-Day here. We're looking at special operation forces. They are also involved in search and destroy from batteries that are attacking shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. And that's been ongoing for months. That's not surprising. And the Iranians really kind of give away their position because they go in mass to protect these underground facilities. And it's much like an MX system. If you remember that move stuff around underground, surface, fire, move again. Well, this is what the Iranians have mastered. They're very, very good at it. And this is why our airstrikes are ineffective. And we are exhausting to a very high degree our interceptors and also our regular missiles, attack missiles. We are in trouble in terms of weaponry. And China's loving this. This is why you're not hearing a lot from the Chinese right now. They're just sitting back and letting us self-destruct with this ill-advised military plan. And oh no, no, I'm not anti-military. In fact, quite the opposite. I am very pro-US military, but we're being mismanaged and misused, all for the purposes of Israel to get Iran out of the way, to have the greater pact where that manifests destiny for Israel to rule the Middle East. And if you don't think that's true, go back and pull up the interview I played the clip for you on, where Israeli ambassador from America, Mike Huckabee, said Israel has the right to rule the Middle East. Said that on an interview with Tucker Carlson. And this is the belief. Now, we're going to get into a sidebar issue with this because America's being held hostage by Netanyahu. And we'll get into that in a separate segment because I don't want to confuse the issues here. Um, Now, here's the question people are asking who know that we're involved in limited ground operations? Are they going to expand? The answer is probably because they're not getting the results they want. And it's going to take more firepower to get the results they want because Iran has massed in defense in the areas that they want to take out, and casualties of a high rate would be expected. We are moving into a turning point in this war. President Trump has a choice, and it's not good. The options he has are not good. One, he can use tactical nuclear weapons. Now, some people have criticized me when I've said this before, and I'm not advocating for this. Believe me, I'm not. They said that the deep underground facilities would not be affected by tactical nukes. That is incorrect. It would even make the areas locally uninhabitable. So the people saying that that will not work, that is incorrect. But can you imagine the international pushback, the political fodder you would give to China and to Russia if we were to do such a thing? Am I fundamentally opposed to this? Absolutely, without question. But the last time I checked, I didn't have a lot of input. In fact, I think it's accurate to say I have no input. What minimal effect I have on public opinion is not going to matter to the military planners. And you can see right now there is disgruntled people in the military. Some have been fired, and they say it's because of this and that. That's a cover story. There are many generals who are now silently telling people, we can't win this war without doing drastic things. And they even question whether or not if we did a ground invasion, attempted to occupy Iran, would that work? And many say no. It's a country that's the size of Western Europe. It's mountainous, and the underground defenses are as sophisticated as any in the world. And this is why Iran is not cracked. The estimate is they still have 75% of their weaponry intact, and we have exhausted a good portion of ours. I heard an estimate the other day out of the Pentagon, and I couldn't believe they were this forthright, and I'm sure someone got fired over saying this, but they quoted how many interceptor missiles they produce in a year, and they say we're going to produce 50% more. It's not enough. And they even said it's not enough. Now we have American forces fleeing from areas in the Middle East, and Iran is threatening to bring the war to Europe. And my answer is, are you got to be kidding me? Um, a related item here, though, trying to widen the war, and Israel is doing its best to widen the war. The immigration invasion of Spain well publicized, deadly, disrupting, concerning, orchestrated by Israel as a warning to not just Spain, but other countries in NATO that don't want to support Israel and join the Ukrainian war with Iran. And I've pointed out this has already happened to some degree, where missiles for Iran from Russia on a ship were sunk, the Caspian Sea. And we showed you where it happened. We talked about how it happened. That's widening the war. And this immigration issue perpetrated by Israel, and I do believe it was Israel that perpetrated this, is a warning. We'll flood your countries. We're going to make your life miserable in Europe. And Trump is in support of this. And part of me understands why he is. NATO, an alliance, a war with Iran. We're not being supported. The only nation in NATO that is supporting Donald Trump is Turkey. And Trump is thinking about abandoning NATO altogether. And you got Putin back there licking his chops because without the US involvement in Ukraine, Ukraine goes in 6 weeks. That leaves Western Europe vulnerable. In other words, Europe is being pulled into a broad war. And by definition, if you have a war on two different continents, you've got a world war. And we're on the verge of that right now. And this is frightening. It's something I do not want. But we are getting the rumors of war that the Bible talks about right now. We have persistent rumors of it. We are invading in Iran. I don't believe that to be the case from the people I'm talking to. But when you have spec ops in and your arsenal is being exhausted, you're looking for another option. I'm telling you, it's tactical nukes or a ground invasion. There is no in between. It's one or the other. Your third option is to walk away and the GOP is destroyed forever. Difficult times that we live in right now. There's no question about it. And I'm not sure our leaders are practicing good discernment. I would ask you to pray for our leaders that they would do what's best for the country, not what's just best for Netanyahu and his administration. Notice I did not say the Jewish people. I'm talking about Netanyahu. He is largely to blame for what is going on. He is not your friend. And have you seen the threats he has made against Christians and Americans who oppose him? And we're going to have to cover that at a later time. But he is not your friend, America. This has nothing to do with the people of Israel. In fact, the people of Israel are upset. They want him gone. But he's basically installed himself as an untouchable leader, dictator. But the people in Israel are not happy. People I talk to, they said if they could have an honest and free and fair election, does that sound familiar? That he would be gone in a landslide. Of course, there's nothing like missiles raining down on your home to make you want to change leadership. We grabbed a tiger by the tail, and that tiger is inflicting bites. And that tiger is Iran. What a terrible miscalculation. And go back and listen to what I had to say in November, December, January, February. This war is a mistake. We will start small. We'll expand the war. Pretty soon we'll be consumed in the war, and it will destroy the economy of the United States. I was very clear on that almost on a daily basis. I begged President Trump not to do this. In fact, there's a really interesting encounter I'll close with. Joe Kent, the fired director of counterterrorism, simply because he wanted to get information on Israel's possible involvement in the killing of Charlie Kirk. He just said, I want the info. Kash Patel and Susie Wiles, chief of staff to Trump, said, no, no. And then they got rid of him for it. When Tulsi Gabbard defended him, they got rid of her too. Don't believe the stories about resignation for this, that, and the other. They were fired. Let's make no mistake about it. And they were fired over Israel. And then people say, why does Dave suspect Israel might have had something to do with Charlie? Well, there's one big piece of that pie right there. But Joe Kent encountered Charlie Kirk, and this story is well known. And Charlie went up to Joe and says, don't let the president attack Iran. And this is before the first bombing. And let me just walk you through the final scenario to show you what a pack of lies we're being fed. Oh, our Operation Midnight Hammer was awesome. We took out any chance they had for nuclear weaponry. Complete victory 13 months ago. A month later, oh my, they've got a lot of stuff. They could be a few weeks or few months away from a nuclear weapon. And as February 28th approached, the beginning of the war, oh, they're 2 weeks away. Let me just remind you, okay? The boy that cried wolf. We have heard this out of Israel for over 20 years. Iran is 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, never found. Scott Ritter, chief UN investigator, never found him. And he's taking the position I take. This is a load of nonsense used to justify a war against Iran on behalf of Israel. And if you don't think that's true, tune back in to the next segment where I'm going to tell you how far the Israeli takeover of our government has progressed. This is, to me, I'm shocked. This is absolutely worse than Pearl Harbor. It's worse than anything that's ever happened in American history. It's worse than Valley Forge. This directly, what I'm going to talk about, threatens the sovereignty of the United States. And people say, well, Dave, well, why do you fear tying in with Israel so closely? Right? I mean, we share the Old Testament. The Israeli people are industrious, they're intelligent, they've built a country out of nothing. I agree with all those things. That's true. But they have a leadership that's genocidal and as corrupt as any on the face of the earth. And I'm talking about Netanyahu. And you can talk about people's character in politics without demeaning a population, says the grandson of a lady whose name was Freiberg. So spare me the anti-Semitic comments. We here defend God, family, country. And the country I defend is the United States. We are not the United States of Israel. And tune in the next segment after the break, because you're going to find out just how accurate that statement is. Thank you for joining us. God bless everybody. We'll see you back here next time.